when a bullet pierced his helmet in World War II, and it went zooming round his helmet and burst through his nose and broke his whole nose, and he got a purple heart. Welcome to the For Your Ears Only podcast. It's Jack and Derek here. Today we are on episode 008. It's the first of the Roger Moore era. It's 1973's Live and Let Die, directed by Guy Hamilton. Derek.
Big man's back.
The big man's back. What's your thoughts on Live and Let Die?
When Live and Let Die, when I was younger, Live and Let Die was, I'd say, one of the most watched James Bond films I had in my collection.
Oh.
I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't really get the whole story, the politics, because I was young. I was like under 10. I don't know what heroin was. So I'm from Scotland, so I should know. I didn't understand what that was for.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of like politics and social things going on at the same time as well. I didn't really get that, but the film was full of action and stunts and animals and weird things.
Danger.
So I didn't really get the lines. I thought it was the most action-packed movie, and that's what I remember about it. And then going back and watching it, I appreciate the story now more, because I'm like, that's good. That makes sense. But the stunts are still there. They're still cool.
Oh yeah, the stunts will always be cool.
He's still here.
Yes, Baron Samedi. I think that it's quite a good intro to this new Bond. When I was younger, I would watch it purely for the a crocodile alligator scene, and then I wouldn't think any more on it. To be fair, it wasn't like I didn't watch it a lot because it did feel quite adult. Maybe the themes and social themes and all that just felt too...
quite scary, I thought, as well.
Went over my head.
It's the most thriller/horror, of a James Bond movie so far.
And this character was
he's frightening.
Frightening, especially when you're young.
Voodoo.
Snakes. Tarot cards.
There wasn't any sharks.
Alligators.
Alligator snakes. Yeah, it was quite scary. And that stuck with
me. But nowadays, when I watched it for this, I did quite actually I could enjoy the nuance more in why they chose to do certain things. They made certain decisions about the characters and what kind of James Bond he was going to be and why he was completely different, but you have to make sure he's the same person and all that kind of stuff. And it was quite. I thought it was more of an adult Bond film. First James Bond film to have swearing in it.
Did it?
Yep.
What did they say?
They said the S word. Can we say that?
Said what?
S?
The
S word.
What's the S word?
They said shit in it.
Did they?
Well, James Bond does.
Does he? When?
When he's doing the flying instruction, isn't it? No, it's not him. It's the woman next to him that does it.
Oh, yeah. Yes. The one with the big goggles.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that.
It's the first one to have swearing in it.
Oh, my God.
And it's only
PG-13.
My DVD says it's a PG.
I think it depends on the type of swearing. So,
maybe just what else did I think of? When I was younger, probably Peppa. All the comedy stuff.
Yeah.
And the scary stuff, not so much the actual themes and issues.
Yeah. The film was actually released almost 50 years to the day.
Yeah, 73.
Yeah, it was 73, but it was July 5th it had its premiere. So right now it's the 11th of July.
One more day, Derek. So you can get out your drum and your flute.
No, they keep waking up my dog and me. So yeah, I liked it. It stuck with me. I do still enjoy it, and I kind of appreciate it more now that I understand what's actually going on.
Yeah, true.
So why does the floor keep disappearing? I don't understand this, but I liked it.
Okay, so we have a recurring segment where one of us will try and give the synopsis of the film in 2 minutes. So this time, it's Derek's turn.
It's Kaa. No, not Kaa. It's Kaa the snake. Kaa is the snake in the Jungle Book. Yes.
Is it? I don't know. It's been a long time since.
My mum really doesn't like snakes. Doesn't like holding them or anything. Like, even this fake thing.
Doesn't.
Does he not?
No.
What if you? Why do you have this in the house then?
Scare him.
Actually, no. I said, why do you have this?
It's from when I was younger. It's still.
I was going to say, Jack didn't get this for this episode. Jack just owns this small snake.
Rubber snake.
Okay, so you pretend to be like Alice Cooper.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Enough stalling.
Can you remember the film?
Yes, I think.
I think this would be all right. Actually,
I think it will be okay. It's just the middle section that I might get stuck on, but I think it will be okay. So yeah, you can let me know when the 2 minutes start, and
right,
I will do my best.
Your best impression.
No impressions.
That's already been an episode.
Yes. Right,
okay. We're gonna go.
Was your phone turned off?
Yeah, it was turned off.
Why was it turned off?
Because I don't want people phoning me.
Okay. What, will I set a timer for me?
No, because that's cheating. Now, you can't say James Bond stuff happens.
Right.
And you can't say spy stuff happens.
Right.
Which I think is
Nothing
easy.
does happen. There's no James Bond or spy stuff that happens in this.
Yeah, I think this will be easy to not say that stuff. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Okay, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. The movie opens with the assassination of 3 mysterious people in different locations. One is the UN, one is in San Monique, and one is in New Orleans. They all die under suspicious circumstances. It turns out they were all agents or investigators of something. James Bond is brought in by MI6 because this is a suspicious death all at the same time, and one of them is in San Monique. The mayor is Dr. Kananga. James Bond is then tasked with tailing Kananga, who is in Harlem, follows Kananga to Harlem, then meets up with Felix Leiter and other agents who are also following Kananga. At that point, they understand that Kananga has ties with San Monique, his island, because he's the mayor there. After following in Harlem, they end up going over to San Monique, meeting up with another agent called Rosie something. It ends up that she's a double agent.
1 minute.
And she dies. And throughout this, James Bond meets Solitaire, who is I'm going to say psychic for Kananga, who's superstitious. After investigating on the island and getting Solitaire over to his side, it turns out that Kananga is shipping heroin to the United States. He's captured and then gets away, and then captured and then gets away over and over again. At the end, James Bond is then tasked with destroying the heroin and breaking up Kananga's enterprise. After a boat chase and getting away from the crocodiles, he and Felix Leiter go to the island. How long's left?
Ages. 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Go to the island along with a character whose name I can't remember, but he was in Doctor No's dad, and goes to the island, kills Kananga in an explosive way, destroys the heroin, and then gets away in a train, and then kills T.E.
Okay, good.
I think
That was good.
Was that all right? I kind of covered. I think that I didn't really know whether to explain the boat chase, the crocodile chase. It gets away and then he's captured, and he gets away and then he's captured.
Yeah, he's captured again. Yep.
Yeah, there's not really a like. I wouldn't really say this is like a typical James Bond movie.
No, it's very much completely different from like a Sean film. In the plot isn't like some guy taking over the world. It's just a very specific small. It's like a heroine that's about drugs, really. It's not like an evil maniac destroying the world with nukes.
I quite like the whole thing made sense. I don't know if it's like that in the book. I know they took a lot of liberties with the film in terms of the book.
Yeah.
The way they wrote it. Because I actually found it quite interesting why they did this film next and why they put certain characters and things in for that. Which
we can get
touch
on. That, yeah.
At some point. I can't let go of this snake. But yeah, I think at the time, as you said, obviously they were casting new people. What do you have down for the history at the time? Because I think that history did really influence what was going on with this movie.
You think so? Well, that's good because you can say more.
Do you have nothing written down?
I have just various things that happened during the world. Was like the Vietnam War ended in 1973. Which probably leads on to why the tone of the film was very comedic. It's just sort of lighthearted.
Yeah.
Came out of war. We don't want any depressing stories.
Yes.
The UK joins the EU this year. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Oh, that was. Oh, no, it was the UN at the start, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that's really about it.
Yeah. With the things that went on, I think this was in 72. The when they were making the film and writing it and put together, there was a lot of terrorism. So it's a cheerful note. There was a lot of terrorism.
Nice.
I believe in 1972 was Bloody Sunday, Northern Ireland.
Yeah, Northern Ireland stuff.
There was a Munich Olympics terror attack. There was Watergate in 1972.
Yeah, had that.
There was UK strikes a lot in 1972 with the coal miners, and something which did actually really influence the movie itself and who was going to be cast in the movie and the story that went down was the Black Panthers in America. That was something that was a big thing, because they said they wanted more representation or black representation in the James Bond movies, because they thought that was the end of James Bond. That was it.
Right.
After Diamonds Are Forever, they said, well, James Bond, like George Lazenby's agent said, James Bond is dead, he's got no place in here.
In
Diamonds Are Forever was kind of, I don't know, kooky, and we'll leave that as it was. But then when they went through for it, they did ask Sean Connery back again.
Yeah.
And Sean Connery's response was, all my life I've wanted to own a golf course and a bank, and I own a golf course, and I'm on my way to owning a bank. So, no.
Yeah, I did
said no for it.
That as well.
And they were thinking about Burt Reynolds.
$5.5 million he was offered. Which is
change.
what, 32 million today, actually.
Yeah, it's not enough.
Not
Not enough for a bank. But they asked Burt Reynolds, or they were looking at Burt Reynolds, but Burt Reynolds was too short and American, and they wanted someone who was British. And Roger Moore was well known at the time and played golf with the producers, and
So that's the way the world is.
that was it.
You play golf with someone you know. I wanted to say that I found this out last night and I had to verify it, but they did ask Anthony Hopkins if he would play James Bond, like Hannibal. Like briefly, they asked if he'd be.
I think it would have been good, but
I looked at pictures of him in the 70s. He doesn't look like James Bond.
doesn't Anthony Hopkins just always look like an old man?
He's always looked that way, but maybe he's got black hair in the 70s.
Yeah, maybe it wouldn't have worked, but he would have made a good villain. But then,
but he's very typecast, I think, as villain.
Yeah, I think it's because when they were looking at the story, they didn't know which story to put next, and they put Live and Let Die, but they didn't want to take a lot from it. But yeah, they wanted more black representation in the movie, which is why the villains are black. But then they had to write a story that was going to work that way.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of like Diana Ross was going to be Solitaire
Diana
at first.
yes,
They looked at that, and
that.
then they cast Jane Seymour after she took off her jacket and her hat. She came in and says, take off your jacket, and she took her jacket off and went, take your hat off, and took her hat off, and you went, right. Like to cast you as Solitaire. It was, but apparently her hair.
The way that she looked, she was only 20 years old.
Yeah.
This is one of her first major things.
Hollywood.
I think
Hollywood.
I read that they did have Diana Ross put down, or that it was written for Diana Ross in the script, but United Artists were like, let's have a white female lead.
Yeah.
And so they're actually, in the book, the Rosie character is actually white, and the main girl is black, but in the film they've flipped it.
Right.
So the Rosie character is black.
Yeah.
Which it would make sense for her, I guess, to be, because she was a CIA agent. I don't know, wasn't she?
Was she? Yeah. Oh, she was with Felix Leiter.
She was
on
on
CIA.
team.
That was actually
like,
part
an insider.
of, like, I always thought, in the casting was interesting, because I liked a couple of things in terms of, like, Roger, not just cast, but how he was going to bring the character. One of the things I didn't like about the film, I thought was a bit stupid, was J.W. Pepper.
You didn't like it?
I thought it was unnecessary, and it was almost like comic relief in an already funny film. But then they explained why they added him.
Well, I read that they added him because they were getting problems in the South with the police not liking such a main black casted film, doing stunts and roaming around the streets and all that of whilst they were filming, and the police were like against it, so they wrote in this character to make kind of fun of Southern police officers.
Yeah, that was it. It was just they brought him in because it was starting to veer very as white people were the heroes, like and the damsel in distress, and then the black characters were like the villains or the double agents, and then they wrote him in because there was that reason of we're having difficulty down here, but also he is an idiot. Yeah. And that's just like he's not a villain; he's just stupid. Yeah. And I think it kind of brought in like they were all kind of incompetent.
But then again, that sort of backfires again on itself because he became such a beloved character that he had. Well,
they actually everyone liked him. That they wanted him to come back, almost in like an openly mocking way.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it kind of worked with that. So I once I understood it, I was like, right, I get it now. I thought he was just in there to fluff up that area, and to be honest, that area doesn't need any more fluff. That whole section is far too long. But they put him in, and it kind of works. Like the other kind of wee bits of I liked about the setting when they were putting together. Everyone was quite uncomfortable because a lot of the cast or all the cast had changed.
Yeah,
but it was the same director, and he knew what he wanted. He was really nervous for Roger coming to start because he was like, Roger, you can't do that thing with your eyebrow because everyone knows you from the other show. Yeah, from The Saint. The crew started to believe that there was like voodoo on set because
they were
there was so much bad luck. And like people were getting injured. There was so many crashes. Things were going wrong. Roger Moore had, I think, like kidney stones or something at that point.
Sure he had dysentery or something.
Yeah, and everyone was being ill, and then the weather was coming in. There was all these storms and everything was going around. The agent at the start who dies, who's on the thing, and I always wondered, is he dead?
The snake bite one.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You don't see the snake bite him. The snake touches him, and he goes, "That wasn't acting." He passed out.
Oh, really? Wow.
He hates snakes. He actually hates snakes so much, and he didn't know it was going to get that close. And when it touched him, he actually passed. That's why he just goes like that, because it's not. He actually passed out, and they kept it in the movie. In the same way, the character that plays Baron Samedi, hates snakes. Is petrified of snakes.
Gets killed by snakes.
So he comes to that bit. They thought they needed to get a stunt actor because he says, right, we need you to fall in this coffin full of snakes. All real snakes.
Yeah.
Fall in, but it's all right. They're not venomous, so you'll be okay. But he was like, I can't do that. I'm not going to do it. However, on set, members of a royal family showed up.
Oh, right.
And because he was like trying to hold himself high, he said, I'm going to do it. And he did it. He was actually went in there, and he was terrified. And there was another point as well where Solitaire's getting tied up. They hired everyone who hates snakes. The guy who was coming out with the snake was a dancer.
Yeah.
And he was doing it over and over again for days, and he hated snakes. But he was holding this real snake and moving around and stuff. And Jane Seymour said, he started to get a bit cocky and things like that. So he switched hands at some point, and the snake turned and bit him. He threw the snake down, screamed and ran off set. Everyone else in the crew ran for him because they thought he was really hurt, but left her there.
With the snake.
And she was tied, and the snake started moving towards her, and she was like, oh my God, like this is actually that's just bit him. It's going to taste for blood now. And the handler ran at the last moment and grabbed it. And so everyone hated snakes. Everyone thought it was voodoo. Roger Moore had a reading done by a voodoo person as well.
Really cool.
Saying that you're going to have a son and you're going to be a humanitarian. And he did have a son, and then he became a humanitarian for UNICEF after that. Jane Seymour was told you're going to have 3 marriages. She was married at the time.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, she's had maybe more than 4. Multiple marriages.
Yeah, she was married.
And so everyone in the crew was like, this is a bit... this is starting to get a bit weird now, and do it all with that. So yeah, I liked it. And one of the things Roger Moore was wanting to do was try to be as un-Sean Connery as possible. So he never orders vodka martini. He
Like,
orders
no
bourbon on ice.
And he smokes cigars
Smoked cigars.
instead of cigarettes.
He was really nervous about how he was going to say James Bond, which is why there was such a pause coming through. He wanted the James Bond to be kind of almost like hate his job, like reluctant to kill, because the producers and Guy Hamilton said if you put Sean with a woman, he would either like kiss her or like kill her. Like it could be either or. Roger would never do that. His Bond was always like threatening, but yeah, it was more kind of suave, and that's what he kind of leaned into the character, and that's where it developed. And I was like, I don't know, I get that.
Yeah, I think he also didn't want to be like the cold Sean Connery. That's why there's all the quips and the jokes. And
Yeah.
rather than Sean Connery's jokes are always when he kills someone, he jokes about killing them.
Roger does that as well, kind of.
Whereas Roger's jokes are more like what is it? It's sheer magnetism. It has nothing to do with killing anyone.
No.
It's not.
It's quite good though. It's just like,
Yeah.
Would you like to do it in question one? Larry
Okay.
questions, or you doing questions?
No, you read the questions, please.
Okay. So question one is a nice and easy one.
Okay.
What is the name of the club that is in Harlem and New Orleans? That's an easy one. You see it like 4 or 5 times. It's said as well. So that is quite an easy one. Do you know anything else about why people were cast and why certain characters were?
No,
in there?
I know that at that time there was the black exploitation movements, if you know that.
Yeah.
So, like at the time, there was films being made with like predominantly black casts that were doing well in the box office. So then Hollywood sees that and then decides to capitalize on it by creating films with black casts, but they had white writers, so it was kind of missed the point. It was confusing and a bit like, yeah. So that was black exploitation films like Superfly and even Blackula and that kind of thing was all.
I completely forgot about that.
But that was like in the early 70s, and Shaft and all that kind of stuff. They were just doing really well. But so they capitalized on it, but they obviously couldn't write for the black experience. But that was kind of a reason why James Bond, or they decided to go for this film, because they seen that was sort of popular at the time. Mm-hmm. In the same way as later on they'll go and write a space film because Star Wars was popular at the time. They're just chasing trends,
This did quite well at the box office. As far as I'm aware, it actually just went down well across the board, because people were saying, it's relative now, like what's going on in the world.
I like it, I must admit.
But it was light-hearted, it wasn't too heavy, it wasn't like... Okay, there's bits of the language which you would not get nowadays that's going to be dated. But
and that's because of the script writers not being from that background. But I like everything. Maybe I'm looking at it retroactively because I'm looking at like 70s styling and fashion and cars and going, oh, that's really cool and all that.
I think it's quite funny as well where I can't remember the name of the CIA agent, or is the FBI agent that finds him in the alley after he takes out, and he goes, oh, James Bond, and it's like, oh, like a white guy in Harlem, I'm glad you brought your disguise. Like that, I think I was like, that's just quite funny actually. That's just funny. like a wee kind of hat tip to like, what are you doing here? Like, you're not Sean Connery. Stop trying to blend in here.
You can't put a disguise on.
Robert Downey Jr. No. Like I thought it was entertaining.
No, I must admit, I liked it. The only thing that I wasn't so keen on right at the beginning is the way they introduced him. They introduced Roger Moore. Like, when they introduced Sean and they introduced Lazenby, they made a great big deal out of it, and it was like all shadows, and he had all the...
Well, he was in the dark.
Doesn't mean anything.
He was in the dark, and then he got out his dressing gown, but... he had a monogram dressing gown.
Yeah, that said JB on it. But the fact that those two actors had like the big fight scene they had, immediately said the tagline, immediately had a fight, had a girl, had drinks, did all the tropes in like their first minute. And then this is just like some guy in his bed gets woken up by him, and it's as if he always was, rather than trying to, he's a new guy.
I think they were maybe quite conscious of that, because they did want to start it up again. Like, if you think there was an audience member who maybe hadn't seen it before or watched the old ones and didn't really like it, and they go in and it's the same thing, they'll be like, this is the same thing. But then it was
consciously very different. The humour does that.
Yeah.
The humour, it's the same team as the previous film. And in our previous episode, Diamonds Are Forever, which you should go watch, we talked about how it was quite camp and lighthearted, and they kind of amplify it, I guess, for this one. So
I think they had to. They had to
change it up. And it's hardly anything to do with gadgets or space or rockets. Or
speaking of gadgets, there's a few gadgets. In fact, it's all pretty much his wrist, everything, which is quite
one gadget.
And like the magnetic watch, which is used over and over again, which is handy, but how does that work?
How powerful is this magnet?
It picks up everything. It like pulls a boat. Yeah, then the watch saw. Yeah, at the end, don't press that button by accident and end up taking your fingers off.
It just appears out of nowhere. Never explained that.
Yeah, shotgun ammo, which I don't believe is a thing, but the US military will try to buy it at some point.
Thing,
yeah,
the expanding bullets.
I'm assuming it's just a pressurized capsule, but that was just at the end. It probably has some ground of reality, but
for what reason? Who knows?
To keep sharks away.
That's not the best way to keep sharks away.
I just stay at the water. I think when you mentioned the lines there is a good thing, because there's 4 lines that stuck with me. They weren't maybe like actual lines, like quips. Like, as you said, Sean Connery, George Lazenby, something happened and then they said the line immediately and you knew exactly what it was. So like the bits where he got out the when Felix is in on the radio, when he gets in the car with the FBI guy and he goes, a genuine Felix lighter, because it's a lighter. And I was like, oh, Roger.
Smart.
What was the other thing? Oh yeah, when she went into the bathroom and she went, oh, there's a snake in there, and he's like, oh yeah, you should never go in there with it, a mongoose. It's just funny. It's like almost trying to just be like a comedian.
Yeah,
it's not like trying to be witty, it's like actually trying to like
and even that scene where he's like just fried the snake and he just immediately goes back to fixing the face and stuff.
Yeah, he didn't finish shaving. Yeah, he shaved.
He didn't need to shave in the
He didn't. He was completely clean shaven. There was at the Crocodile farm when he says potential overnight bags. I'd like to go into the Crocodile farm in a bit because there's a very fascinating story about that. But yeah, potential overnight bags. When he's talking about the crocodiles,
nice.
And I was like, that just kind of went really quickly, and I was like, oh, that's quite funny. And and then at the end, what I think is the best line of the film, when he throws tea out the window and he's like, oh, I've just been disarming.
Like,
but then, did she not hear what was going on? Did she not see that the room is trashed? Yeah. The window's open. There's an arm hanging out the window.
Yeah.
That wasn't very funny.
I always remember that scene, like, every time I go on a train, and if I had to sleep on a train overnight in Thailand, and I was like, am I going to get flipped into this compartment halfway through the night? Always be wary, kids.
Did it happen?
No, it didn't.
No. But did you have any lines other than those ones?
I've got sheer magnetism was funny. That was probably the best one. Anything to do with Peppa, his lines were just a bit wacky.
Yeah.
And like even the phone call where it's like, can you come put down my dog? And I was like, what is happening in the South?
Our dog's foaming at the mouth. Come and shoot it.
Wow.
Yeah, there was like a few. Like, I think my dad always says as well, like the secret agent on whose side? Like, it's just trying to double down on idiot.
Yeah, that and the
is it the cousin?
Like, is Billy Bob? Billy Bob.
My brother-in-law Billy Bob, when he turns away and they're all just watching this guy who's definitely not Billy Bob.
That's one of the
that's like funny. And it's just like, okay, that's like, but I think one of the things I don't like about it, and the film is 2 hours, and most James Bond films are 2 hours. A massive chunk was taken up of that boat chase, and I get that they shot a lot of it, but there was so much there was so many stunts that was happening in that scene. I know they probably wanted to put in, but I think a lot of it was just there to fluff up the film and make it extend. So there was when the boat goes over the grass next to the wedding.
Yeah.
So many times they crash head first into a tree. They don't lose stuntmen, but the stuntmen are written off. Like, they go in, hit their head, and the stuntmen are like carted out by paramedics.
Next.
They do another one, it goes into the same tree. The same stuntman is like dazed, and they're like, "How are we going to do this?" And then, like, the next day, that wedding scene is underwater. The whole bit's flooded, so they can't do it. So they have to come and do it again.
I know that they smashed up 17 boats, and
I can imagine
in just doing the rehearsals.
Yeah. Roger Moore, like, I think nearly lost his teeth in the rehearsals. There was a point where the boat, like, turned out, the engine just cut out, and he fell back and smashed his face off something and couldn't feel his leg. And he was like, "What am I going to do?" And then it worked kind of well.
It was actually a really long sequence. In fact, we watched it. Amelia and I watched it a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, "Can I go now? I don't want to watch this."
Did Amelia know what was going on?
No, I was like, "You need to watch the crocodile bit," and then we watched the crocodile bit, and then the boat chase. I was like, "I'll just stay for the boat chase," but I didn't realise that it went on for like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
it kept going. As funny as it was, some of it was funny, and when they even break a Guinness World Record for like the
do. That's what I was going to go into, the Bond moments.
Yeah, that kind of thing was good, but it does go on a bit.
Yeah,
a bit too long.
Aye. But I think that was just the film was exactly 2 hours. Like that. I get that.
They needed
20 minutes of that was that boat chase put through.
Do you want to know a good fact about your favourite character, Mr. Pepper?
Go on.
I think you'll like this because it's a throwback to a previous episode.
Oh no.
So Clifton James was the actor who played J.W. Pepper, who lived till he was in his late 90s. But he was a recipient of 2 Purple Heart medals.
Oh! Was he indeed?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say it was like Mr. Universe. 2 Purple Hearts?
Yes, he got 2.
What, for 2 wars? Let me guess. Korean War and...
No, well, I don't know. Definitely one of them was in World War II, because he got his first Purple Heart when a bullet pierced his helmet in World War II, and it went zooming round his helmet and burst through his nose and broke his whole nose, and he got a Purple Heart for like surviving.
What would you even... How did you even know that happened?
And his second Purple Heart
went through the helmet and round. How did they know that? Was it like a trail? Or?
Yeah, he says that he heard the bullet going round and round, and then it went through his nose.
What, like a cartoon?
Yeah, like a cartoon. Ding, 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 ding.
That's okay.
And the second one was when he got... there was an explosion and some shrapnel hit him in the face and burst all his teeth, came out and stuff. He lost a lot of his teeth. He got his second medal for surviving that as well.
What a guy.
And he lived...
How is he still alive?
I know.
How? He'd still get the Purple Heart if he died, but like, how? I don't... Was this in the same war?
There must have been World War II he was talking about.
Surely, if the helmet thing, first of all, if that happened, you'd be like, right.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'd be like, I have danced with death. But then the explosion happens, you must be like, okay, this is me now. But then you're just like, oh no, I'm fine. Alive. I'm still here. That's interesting.
And then he has to go and act with Roger.
Highlight of his life.
Highlight
Twice.
Of his life. Twice.
So we'll get on to that in the next episode. Why don't we do question 2 before we go on to the
Derek, what's question 2?
Things. So, question 2. What is the name of the crocodile that takes Teehee's arm?
That's a good question, because I missed it when I first watched it.
Do I go into the Bond moments, actually, because we touched on a few there. So you mentioned the boat jump, which is a world record of 115 feet, I've written here. They designed a boat to do the jump, and the stuntmen after hurt themselves because they landed in the wake of that boat and then lost control and it went right into the side.
Oh, nice.
Another
I like
destroyed boat.
when they had the sort of blockade all set up and they were ready to get them, and he just smashed right through it.
Yeah,
the
that
chase goes on for another 10.
Yeah, that's a bit where they took like 2 or 3 minutes to set up. Oh, and we're going to make the blockade. We're going to do this, blah, 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 and it sits there and it just drives through. Then it's like, right, okay, we're going to keep going after that. And then the end of that scene's just a bit Hollywood, because he pulls something on him and then he drives into this empty boat for no reason. The entire boat just goes boosh. Yeah, the ending was a bit weird, but yeah, I thought it was good. It was entertaining, but it just went on for too long. I think as well, something that I actually forgot about until I was doing this is the bus chase and the bus stunt.
Yeah.
So with the bus chase, they flew over an English bus stunt driver.
Right. It looks like an English bus as well.
Yeah, they brought that over from England. So I don't know if maybe a bus driver or he was an actual stunt bus driver, or maybe a bus driver who became a stunt bus driver. But it was a good bus driver because they wanted him to do the handbrake turn.
Okay.
Now they didn't know whether the bus was going to flip or not. Jane Seymour was in the bus.
Yeah, I had that written down.
Didn't have to be.
She was in that whole sequence, whereas half of it was like a stunt double.
It could have been an actual dummy. Didn't need to be anything.
She was in it.
But she was like, I'm going to be in there.
One bit where it zooms in and you see that it's actually her and she's like holding on. You're like...
Yeah, when they did the handbrake turn, they didn't know whether the bus was going to topple over or not. They were just trying their best not to. And then the bridge scene, when she was in the bus for that, and she asked them beforehand, she says, and the stunt choreographer was saying to the bus driver, we're going to try this. And then she said to the bus driver, is this going to work? And they don't know. They had no idea. They were like,
to take the top half off the bus? That bit?
They had not a clue if it was going to work. The bus driver said, I don't think this will work. I think what will happen is we'll drive, it'll take a good bit, and then it'll just crumple. So it might not be best to have people in here, but I think she was at the front. And they said, I don't think it's going to work that way. I think it will just crumple and then we'll stop.
Yeah. But
then they just did it, and they worked out. They said, you need to be hitting 40 mile an hour for this to
get it to work.
And it did it, and it worked.
Yeah.
And then they must have just kept the end and then drove the other car into it, which then went off to the swamp.
That is one of my Bond moments.
I like that because it's used in not other movies, but it is quite iconic. That's, to my knowledge, is the first movie they did the bus.
I would say the same.
The top of the bus coming off.
And again, that's why I never sit in the top flight of a double-decker bus.
You're a traumatised young man.
Just in case.
70s film.
Just in case.
And what I think is the most iconic part of this movie is, of course, the crocodile jump.
Oh, yes.
Now, what I learned today about this...
Good.
The crocodile jump was all real.
Uh-huh.
It was all crocodiles. Now, when I looked at it, and it's very clever editing because it goes from Roger Moore, stuntman Roger Moore, and you don't really notice it because it goes to the stuntman's shoes. Now, it turns out that Roger Moore was wearing crocodile skin shoes because he asked for crocodile skin shoes. He thought, wouldn't that be quite funny to do that? And Guy Hamilton went, okay. So they gave him black crocodile skin shoes.
I didn't know that. That's
because they thought, and Roger Moore was kind of laughing, said, "Oh, it's quite funny," because then they're probably angry because they think, "Oh, that's my cousin."
You're wearing my cousin.
And so they had the stuntman who did the stunt and actually owned all the crocodiles. He owned the land.
Yeah.
Now, his name was Kananga.
Right.
That's why Kananga is called Kananga.
Oh, so it's named after
I thought, what a coincidence. No, they named the villain Kananga because of this guy. So this guy...
This alligator farm or something.
Yeah, so this guy owned, I think, over 1,000 crocodiles on this farm.
Right.
His dad did it as well. His dad was eaten by crocodiles. And Roger Moore was saying he knew all the crocodiles. And I think it was Ross Kananga. And he pointed at one that was like, him. He had my dad. Oh, he knew the crocodiles.
Yeah.
The same way that
so like, Teehee... Like Captain Hook stuff.
Yes, exactly that. But this guy had been... They said there was a story where he'd grown up with the crocodiles all his life, and his dad was like essentially kind of Steve Irwin, but he would do as a show, and he would stick his head in the crocodile's mouth. And when Ross Kananga was a boy, the crocodile shut its jaw and his head, and he was there for 20 minutes until the crocodile just decided just to let him go.
Well,
and he
as
was
a kid.
It was a young man,
I was
maybe a
younger.
teenager or something. But this was him doing a stunt, and the crocodile and then it never let go, and then the crocodile just decided, okay, that's fine, and let him go. But he was so, I don't know, desensitized to them. He knew what they were doing.
He grew up with them.
The moment that see when Roger Moore's on the island, and that crocodile comes up, that wasn't meant to happen. They thought there was fake crocodiles because there was floating ones in made of rubber. And this one that they thought was fake moved up, and they all panicked and they started shooting guns over the water to try and scare it off. They ended up keeping the footage of the thing coming up and then the footage of it coming through. But the actual stunt itself with Ross Kananga, he had 5 tries to do it. And the way they did it was, I thought it was just rubber crocodiles. I mean, they do rear their head, but I thought, seeing the lineup, that was just rubber. It's real crocodiles when Roger's looking at them, but the way it works is they were like tied to the water so they couldn't swim about.
Right.
So there was like a tether underneath them, and that's why they're perfectly in a line. And it took 5 attempts for Ross Kananga to do this stunt. Yep. But each time the crocodiles knew it was going on.
Oh, so they prepared.
So the points where they left, the first time they didn't do it, the first time I think he stood in one and it was like, whoa, what was that? But then after that they kind of knew it, so they started thrashing up, and then one time it grabbed his foot.
Yeah.
The crocodile shoes, and he was like trying to get his foot back, and he managed to get off, and then he did an attempt which was, I think, on the 31st of December, and they did that, and that was
the one that got used.
That was it. No, it was six months later the movie came out, and that was the one they used for that section, and I was like, that's
the fact that it is real is mind blowing. You'd actually just be like, can you step on top of that crocodile?
He actually died shortly after this, I think, the stuntman.
What, the Kananga guy?
Yeah, in my head I was looking up, I think he was born in the 40s and then he died in the 70s, because I was like, he must only be like 30, but he died of a heart attack. But I was like, how does a guy like that die of a heart attack? Surely you have like the resting heart rate of like a tortoise to jump over crocodiles and still be... Because there was one time he tripped over the crocodile and he landed on it, and he was just sitting on its back in the middle, and this thing was putting its head back, and he was just like quite calm. Like, what do you do now?
How did you get out?
Help me! Yeah, but
nobody's gonna come and help.
No, but yeah, it was a stuntman. He, as far as I'm aware, he only did 3 things, because his main thing was this crocodile farm, and yeah, and I thought that was one, I never knew it was real. 2, I never knew of the name of coming through there, and then the fact that this just crazy bastard was just literally standing on crocodiles, like, what are you doing?
For a living.
Yeah, but
that's probably the most famous thing to come out of the film. Actually, is the.
I think maybe of all Roger Moore's movies, that's probably the number one.
Yeah,
and I think it is that whole James Bond thing of like, you could just kill him. He's clearly a pest. You could just kill him, but.
Yeah, but it has to be fantastical.
Oh no. But yeah, I think even the lines of that section where it's saying, what's the other way of stopping the crocodile? Or you
pull
just
its teeth out.
Yeah, you just reach your hand in its mouth and pull its teeth out. And I thought that's quite sinister.
But then they have that one that I think it's their alligators, because is it not crocodiles or
there's crocodiles and alligators?
But crocodiles in real life you can't mix the two, because one's saltwater, one's freshwater animal.
No. You do get saltwater crocodiles, but I think they're specifically called saltwater crocodiles.
But I'm pretty sure in America it's alligators.
It's alligators in like the bayou.
Which is where this is, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think you can get crocodiles as well.
I don't know.
I don't know enough to argue with you.
I'm going to say that.
Does anyone know the answer to this?
It should just be alligators. I thought that
they're not in this country, so that's good. I think saltwater crocodiles
are fake country.
But I think saltwater crocodiles are just called saltwater crocodiles. I think that's specific. Like Nile crocodiles, I'm not sure if I think the Nile is saltwater. No, I don't know.
I don't actually know, but I knew that one was fresh and one was salt, so I was confused.
I don't know if it's that simple. I know an alligator has a wider snout and is more aggressive, and a crocodile's a narrow snout.
In the comments, you can tell us.
Well, you'll learn nothing.
Yeah, we can have an argument in the comments. But yeah, that was probably that bit, and then Roger Moore lets one of the alligator crocodiles into like the drug factory, and then suddenly everything starts exploding.
No, he blows it up
because like it just one alligator walks in.
No, he throws the explosion because Mary Pershua does that.
Does.
I thought that was quite cool. I was like, why don't you just blow up without the alligator going inside?
Yeah,
I mean,
everybody inside.
Yeah, the alligator. Everyone's going to run out. Because they're scared of the alligator. Now that alligator's going to be in there, like in this burning building, going, oh no.
This is completely different from my water.
That bastard wearing those crocodile shoes.
Wearing my dad. Set me on fire.
It was a few wee things, in terms of things I didn't really like. There wasn't a lot of the film I didn't actually like. There was a few bits I had questions of, like, first of all, did James Bond buy 30 decks of cards?
Yeah, to get all those lover cards.
Like every single one of them. There was that. The few bits I found stupid. I actually bust out laughing just before that. See when he's paragliding?
Yes.
And this is almost like a spy film spoof where he does the paragliding. Not only does he just kick a guy off the cliff for no reason, he might have been no one, just kicks him off the cliff, but he lands and then he takes his suit off and he's got another suit underneath. I'm like, that's like the Goldfinger thing of like the suit under another suit.
Under the wetsuit, yeah.
I was like, I don't...
I got the hang glider where he's just like smoking cigars on the hang glider.
Well, that's true, actually, yeah. Fully clandestine.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, like, see where the... is this the only film where the theme song is sung in the film? They're living their die. And in the club, the woman comes out and then when the seat lowers, I thought, well, that's...
Well, we should probably talk about that. It's one of the best themes. Top 3.
You're just saying that because it's Paul McCartney.
It is Paul McCartney, but it is actually the best. I like it, and even in the title scenes when on all the big hits, it goes from like this. At one point, it goes from like the woman's face, and then it comes in and it turns into a big flaming skull. And I was like, "Oh, that's just awesome!"
It is a good song.
It is the best.
However, there's one bit I don't like.
Are you talking about
the reggae section? Yeah, no one likes that. Don't even tell me that you like that.
It breaks it up. It's good.
It breaks it up. It takes it away from the good section, and then when it comes back, you remember. Oh, I remember how good this song is.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't a fan of that, but it is very iconic.
I think,
and
I think that I don't know if it's the only one that's. Something tells me that you can hear it in From Russia with Love on the radio. I guess if that counts. Is
it the most energetic song so far?
So far, it's the first rock song. So yeah. I know that this is the first time that John Barry didn't do the score at all.
Oh, did he not?
No, because it's George Martin, the Beatles producer, who does it with Paul McCartney.
I really liked the music in this.
Yeah. The music is very good in it.
It was something I noted down, like, I think in a lot of the films I'll say, the music was good, the sound design was good, but the music, like the wee different bits that were put through were all quite nice. That wee meh. Yeah. That, like, I don't know, xylophone or things. Yeah, that was good throughout, and it was all like wonder.
Yeah, I think that it goes into that in that documentary about the sound of 007. They talk about how John Barry he can't work in every Bond film in the 70s because if he's getting like investigated for tax or something, so he can't do every film because that would he would get paid for it, so he ends up doing every second film to like to evade the tax. So this was the first time that he never did it.
No, you're giving me too much money.
So they have George Martin. I think they bring George Martin in first.
Oh, he wrote the Game of Thrones books.
That's J.R.R. Anyway,
that's George R.R. Martin.
Is it?
That's a George Martin.
Okay, it's not the George Martin.
It's the same guy.
But yeah, they brought him in, and then when he asked Paul McCartney to sing the song, he never had the script at the time, so Paul McCartney was reading the book, and that he got the lyrics via reading the book. And then I liked when they sent the song in to Broccoli. He was like, "That was good demo. Who are you going to get to sing the song?" And he's like, "Well, you've got Paul McCartney singing it right now." And he's like, "Yeah, but who are you going to get to sing the actual thing?" He's like, "It's Paul McCartney. You're getting Paul McCartney."
Paul McCartney's not giving you this song unless he sings it.
Yeah, but they must have had that song early to then put it into the script that way, because usually the song comes right after everything's filmed and shot and everything.
Oh, that's true, actually. Unless it was one of the kind of last scenes.
Because that was, I think George Martin got that girl to sing it, and it's on the soundtrack album, her version of it. Because they wanted like a soul version.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was just Broccoli wanted her to actually just sing it.
Maybe that was who it was, but it was like this fucking Paul fella, like, who does he think he is? I paid you to write it, don't sing it.
But yeah, that definitely is one of the top, and it is a long-lasting one. It would be number one right now.
Would it? I don't think it would. In that scene, there's something I don't know why it was put in, but see where the waiter comes out and says, "Is one of you Felix Leiter?"
Yeah.
And he says, and he says, "There's a phone call for you." But clearly there isn't.
Yeah, obviously.
There's a phone call for you. And then he leaves, and then James Bond like disappears with the table. And then the table comes back, and Felix comes back clearly like, what was that? And then he says to the waiter, "Where was your friend?" And then the waiter says, like in a very aggressive tone, "Oh, I'll tell you who your friend is." And then it cuts to the next scene. No, what did he say? Like, what did he say? I'm like,
did Felix just go, "All right, okay," and then walk out the bar?
That's fine.
What does he do?
I'll have his bourbon and ice. Yeah, and then everything's kind of left after that.
Yeah.
I think even at that scene where this was a bit I didn't understand when I was younger, but I understand now why Kananga pretended to be Mr. Big.
Well, I had that written down as, was that a necessary thing?
Absolutely not. But he wasn't like but then he was under surveillance. So that's why he was doing it, because they said, "Oh, we're watching Kananga. This is why he's playing a speech through this pre-recorded thing." And then it was like, "Oh, this is a guy, Mr. Big. Only a few people have seen him. And if he is caught, then they know." Because I remember when you see it, because it's the 70s makeup, you're like, something's wrong with him. Something's wrong with his face. So it does make sense. I think it was, I don't know, was it just kind of maybe flexing? To be like, okay, we can make this character look like someone else, and
I don't know if it's central to the plot really, but maybe it's to keep his like above board personality and his like seedy dark side separate, so it gives him an excuse to do all the heroin stuff whilst being the Prime Minister.
Yeah, not until I speak to Kananga. Just pulls his nose off.
I am Kananga. Yeah, that was unnecessary. Slightly weird as a child to watch someone claw their face
rip
off.
Their face off. But then his personality changed as well. So when he was shouting,
vernacular changes when he's Mr. Big and he starts talking street.
Yeah, I think he's a villain. Only when I realised what was going on did I work it. He is actually really quite sinister.
Kananga?
Yeah, the plot I think is beyond just drug dealing though.
Yeah,
the plot is actually not clever, but it's like, I suppose you can grow as much as you want in terms of heroin.
Yeah, to give it away for free.
Yeah, to give it away for free, to then essentially kill the market so that the other drug dealers can't keep going it, and then you can sell it after that. I don't think the islands off like the Caribbean are like good for growing heroin though. I thought heroin was grown in like Middle East and Afghanistan and stuff like that. I thought that was the place. I'm no expert. I don't even know what difference between an alligator and a crocodile, but I know where the heroin's grown.
But surely, see if when they start setting it all on fire, do you not get some sort of contact high? Like those radio presenters and TV presenters that stand in front of burning piles of drugs and they start getting high? Seen that video?
just on the snake, just all the snakes have escaped, sitting going.
Good smack.
I thought it was. I just remembered there. It was a good thing of Quarrel's. Like, was that actually an actor related to Quarrel? Because he looked like Quarrel.
So. I think I also think that Whisper looks like Questlove.
It does actually. It's the hair shape and the beard.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
No, but I think that was one of my points. Is there's a lot of throwbacks, but also a lot of films throw back to this film. So Quarrel Jr. is obviously Quarrel's son, who helps him in Doctor No. And the reason they had that is in the books. This book comes before Doctor No, so he's like in both books, but obviously the film is swapped, so they had to say like, all right, so it can't be Quarrel because he died. He has to be his son. God
forbid we get another actor in and just call him Quarrel as well. We can't do that for continuity.
Yes, exactly. That. What else did I have? The outfit that he wears, the all black thing that Daniel Craig then wears on the poster for Spectre. There's like throwbacks that way.
I don't understand why he came on an island where he knew there was at least 3 main villains and a very populated island of a big drug operation, and he came on with a 6-shot revolver.
Yeah, and
he shot all 6 shots.
And
then threw the gun away.
Perfect.
Why? And then gets captured. Oh, there is sharks, actually. I was going to say there's no sharks. There is sharks.
I guess there's sharks in the boat.
There's snakes, there's sharks, there's crocodiles / alligators.
That's another sort of throwback, or what's it weird? It's not really. It's a throwback, but from No Time to Die. I think that the sort of Rosie Carter is a lot like the Paloma character that Anna de Armas has, because they're both like fresh out of schooling or training, because that's only her
schooling.
It's only her second mission, and she's scared and a bit ditzy, and then it turns out that she can actually do her job, and that's that kind of thing.
Does she though?
Kind of reminds me of Paloma a bit there.
Maybe they've just ripped it off.
Right. Well, last thing. Do you know anything about the tarot cards? I found out quite a lot about that, which was quite funny.
I know they had the 007 on the back of them.
What was the point? Why did they do that?
Merchandise.
It had 007 all over the back of the cards.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Maybe it was like a design thing. It was the first design, and they thought that'd be funny, and then they just couldn't think of anything else and went, you know what? We'll sell the decks of cards. They probably do sell decks of cards.
They're on the website. The website, I think they're £80 or something on it.
£80?
But you get 10 extra lover cards.
Just as well.
But yeah, no, that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, why did they say 007 on it? That's like almost taking you out of it kind of idea. Maybe they should have just left that for the merchandising. But a really cool story that I have about the tarot cards was they originally asked Salvador Dali to design the pictures on every card.
Right.
Of the tarot deck, to have some sort of surrealist theme in every one. And he started work on it, and then he asked for a fee of $7 million to have his tarot cards in the film, and they were like, we have no money to give you $7 million.
So they didn't agree a fee, first of all?
So he started at work on it.
We've been there.
Been there before in life.
Thanks for that work. Wait, how much are you charging?
So he wanted an extortionate fee, and they were like, absolutely not. So they actually ended up getting a Glasgow artist, I think he's from Paisley actually, to design the cards for. He didn't have enough time to design a full deck, so that's why he can only design 27, and I'm sure there's like 37 actual cards.
Right.
So Salvador Dali, instead of abandoning it, he over the next 10 years decided to keep going at the project. And it wasn't until 1984 that his tarot deck got like published and put in an art gallery. Almost 10 years later.
Right.
And on some of the cards is like his face and some weird stuff. And he also has one card that has Sean Connery as James Bond in it. On one of the cards.
A bitter old man.
Which would have been so cool to see that, like Roger picking up that card, I think. Would have been cool.
That is quite interesting. Why did it why 7 million?
Because he's mad.
But then again, I suppose the deck of cards then becomes art.
Yeah.
It's like,
But his estate now sell it, so you can buy a replica of the Salvador Dali deck
for 7 million
for $50, or you can buy the Scottish made artist one on official store for 80. So, and it's only a half deck, that one, because Dali finished all 37 cards.
Yeah. I suppose the studio could have paid it. They could have paid it and they just held the deck and then sold the deck at auction 10 years later. Guarantee they'll probably have got back. That's a piece of art now. Yeah. It's not just a deck of cards. And we've been over art. Reverend McJagger.
Yeah, they could
tax evaders.
You'd use that to deduct anything.
Snakes.
But I thought that was very cool. To the point that I was nearly like, I'm gonna buy that Salvador deck for £50 because it just sounded so cool. And obviously
it's like a novelty, isn't it?
Yeah. Almost like one of those what could have been kind of Easter eggs, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed.
But alas,
it's too
why
expensive.
don't we do the last question? Are you doing the last question? I'll do the last question.
Yeah, no, you're doing all the questions.
I'm doing all of them. Okay.
'Cause I don't know what they are.
So we touched on the scene where James Bond was taken hostage by Kananga and Teehee and asked, "Did you touch her?" And at a point he takes off his James Bond's watch in order to test Solitaire at her psychic ability. And it was just a 50-50 guess.
Yeah.
What
yes or no?
was the serial number that was on James Bond's watch? That is your hard question for this week.
Or what number does he read out? Because
we don't know, actually.
Because he then says that was wrong.
It doesn't say it was wrong, he said it was a 50-50 chance. No, he says it was a 50-50 chance and you weren't even close.
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean? Maybe she was hesitant. But the number that he reads out, yes, that's a good way of rounding it up.
Yeah. I still find it so boggling that Roger Moore was 46 in this film.
Was he?
46 in this film. And he does actually look very young in it, but at the same time, Sean Connery was 46 in Diamonds Are Forever. So it's not as if they went for a younger actor. They went for someone who was the same age. But also Sean Connery looks 20 years older.
Sean Connery looks significantly older.
So much older. But it's not like now where they're trying to find a young actor. They went, this guy was the same age.
Well, you said they liked Roger Moore anyway.
Well, he auditioned for Dr. No and he auditioned again for On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah.
And then this time he got...
But I suppose he was quite a popular actor. Everyone kind of knew who he was, so it was maybe a way of like...
I think they didn't want the risk of going with an unknown. They wanted someone.
Yeah, they wanted to bring the franchise back, which he did.
For far too long.
Why at this point will we go on to why? I'm asking you why we'll do it. Why don't we go on to the ranking? And are you doing the ranking first, and I'm doing it afterwards? In fact, no, I did it last time.
Yeah,
because you were unhappy at my ranking of Diamonds Are Forever. So I'm going to put Live and Let Die where I think Live and Let Die should go.
Okay. And then I'm going to change it. I'm going to change a lot of it. Now, whilst you're doing that, I'll just say that I'm not the biggest fan of Roger Moore's era. I think it does get a bit too funny, less serious, a bit silly. He goes into...
You said you like Diamonds Are Forever because it's camp.
He goes into space.
That wasn't Roger's decision.
But I just kind of... I do generally lose interest for the latter half of Roger Moore's stuff. From like Moonraker onwards, I kind of lose
I get that.
Until View to a Kill, because Duran Duran sucked me back in. But yeah, but on reflection, when I had to go watch this again, I actually really enjoyed it more than I remember enjoying it.
Yes. Well, this is what I think it should go.
He's old there, it's not that good.
It's a good film. I have a lot of fun. If I was to watch the films over again in terms of like entertainment value and such, taking nostalgia out of it, the movies I enjoyed, I was like,
oh, we've done this so wrong.
Are you changing it?
With any, no, can I move this?
Move what? Don't you dare move Diamonds Are Forever.
I'm going to put that...
I thought you were going to put Live and Let Die at the top.
Here. and then I'll give you that if you give me this.
It's at the bottom, isn't it?
No, I'll keep it there.
How have you moved that back up? No. Right. Well, I've moved it one. What's happened for those who are just listening is I have put Live and Let Die as third on the list, and what
best.
Jack has done sneakily
He's kept
is he's kept it there, but he's moved Diamonds Are Forever up 3 places off its rightful position of last. But
I don't know.
I think we have to keep this tradition going where someone changes it, another person can move someone
Next
adds the film, and then the other person can make one move of another film.
And I did make one move.
You did make one move. Okay, so
I would say,
why don't you read out the ranking for those who are just listening?
If you liked Live and Let Die for its tone and its humour, how could you not like Diamonds Are Forever for its same tone and humour?
It's just boring.
With a better guy in it.
So read out the ranking.
Right.
Are you reading out the ranking?
Okay. From the top, we have in first place Goldfinger, then From Russia with Love, then Live and Let Die, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Diamonds Are Forever, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, and at the very last, Dr. No.
Which is quite unfair to Dr. No.
It's unfair to You Only Live Twice, which has so many good things in it.
No. We've discussed that already. We discussed that in previous episodes, which you should go watch and listen now. Yes, if you've not listened to any of the other episodes, then go back and listen to them. We also have a drink special.
Drink special.
Which was out last. That was the last episode, actually. Drink special, we go over all the cocktails of the Sean Connery and George Lazenby era. If you have watched all the episodes, then watch them again. Share them with a friend. And
we've got also bonus clips now.
We do have bonus clips? No, we just kept it in.
You got bonus episodes of like your impressions.
Oh, we do have bonus episodes. Yes, we do have the impressions
and the questions from the Sean Connery era.
Yes, if you want to test your knowledge at just the questions in one episode, those are all up as well. And on whatever platform you are, I'm going to say, enjoying this episode. If you made it this far, then you've clearly enjoyed something about it. If you're not here, then you're not here. But yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, then subscribe it. If you're watching it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Amazon Podcasts or Google Podcasts or one of those other things, then why not subscribe?
And if you're feeling really generous, you can buy us a martini or even buy a t-shirt or a mug.
Buy something, please.
Because I can't even afford the t-shirt anymore.
It's sold.
I had to sell it.
So that is Live and Let Die. I enjoyed that movie. I enjoyed that episode. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And the next time we move on, we slither into the world that is...
The Man with the Golden Gun.
Yes. Pleasantly surprised, I think.
This will be a controversial one.
Oh, it will be. Okay. Well, we will see you for that episode. Goodbye.
Bye.